Hey everybody, King here. On a kickback Memorial Day weekend, I hope everybody is with family, having lots of fun, kicking their feet up, doing some barbecue, sucking down a few cold ones, or whatever it is you do to relax. It's going to be a good Memorial Day weekend. I think I've deserved the time off, and I'm glad to have a few days to kick my feet up and get away from the grind for 3 days. I thought I would do a record of the week because it's been a couple weeks since I've done this type of video, and I always miss doing it, so here we go. We're going to do another record of the week, and this week it's the best of OMD, Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark, their best of album. Normally I wouldn't put a best of album as record of the week. I would pick an individual album and do that, but in my situation, the only song I knew from OMD was If You Leave, and that was a song that was from this movie Pretty in Pink. That was the only song I knew from them. Other than that, I didn't know anything they did. In recent weeks or last month or so, I started getting into synth pop, and they were one of the bands that I was collecting some of their records. So I bought Crush and Junk Culture, and then later on I got Architecture and Morality, and I realized that If You Leave, even though that song is a really cool 80s pop song, it really isn't their strongest song. It's when you get into the early 80s, that's really where they were a great band. Like this song, Electricity, Enola Gay, Souvenirs, Joan of Arc, Messages. I mean, those are all great songs from early years of OMD. So I decided to pick up this record really just to see what this band was about. And man, I was just blown away by their earlier sound. I mean, of course, I go on YouTube and look up songs and such from this band, and their early records were really, really cool. I mean, I've never been the biggest synth pop fan, but because they have such catchy tunes and some really interesting lyrics, it makes them fun to listen to. And then later, so I start here, and then later I go to the early records and just start grabbing at whatever I see. As far as the early records, all I really have right now is Dazzle Ships and Architecture and Morality. I'm still looking for Organization. That's going to be a tough one to find. It's proving. But some really good music on here. Side 1 is basically the songs from the early 80s. Like this song here. This is called Messages, and it's just a great song. Real catchy little quirky keyboard parts. I mean, it can be addictive, really, this album. I really like this. I remember when this was in fashion in the early 80s, for some reason I didn't listen to it too much, but now I wish I had, because I just now realizing how cool this music is. Now, the reason why I selected this as record of the week, number one, the music on it. Side 1 is just amazing. Side 2 is pretty good too. It's more the commercial era of OMD. The songs like Tesla Girls and So in Love and Secret and If You Leave, but they're still really good pop songs. Side 1 is actually is really the best body of music on this record. Side 1, really good. But now, why I picked this as record of the week is as I'm looking at some of their songs on YouTube, I noticed there was a link to see one of their interview videos where they're being interviewed by press. And this is a recent interview as well. I think it came out in 2012 or earlier this year. And they were, so the two big members of the band, which is these two guys, Paul Humphries and Andy McCluskey. That's Humphries, that's McCluskey. They were talking about this album. The interview says, "You guys feel the end was coming up and it was time to put a best of? Is that why you guys thought, or you guys thought it was time to celebrate the discography?" And I gotta give these two guys credit. They are 100% honest about why this record came out, and their answer was, I think at the time this came out, it might have been 86 or 87. I can't really see the year on here. Anyway, that's unimportant. The year this record came out, they had been touring and putting out records constantly for 10 to 12 years. And they had just came off a big tour, and they came home to find out they owed their record company about £1 million. I don't know what that works out in American dollars, but they owed, but it's a lot of money from what I see. They owe their record company £1 million, and they couldn't believe it. They were like, but we've just been touring our asses off and putting out records like crazy, and they're selling by millions for the past 10 years. How can we owe you $1 million? But they were very truthful about it, and they said, you know what, when we first got signed by a record label, and they presented us a contract, these two guys were 19 years old, because they went to the same school together, and they started this band when they were very young men. And they signed their first record contract when they were 19, and they were like, oh, you're gonna pay us to put out music for a living? Oh my God, where do I sign? You know, like any 19-year-old would do, especially if a 19-year-old loves music. So they foolishly kind of signed it. And they said they did have a manager at the time who presented the contract to a lawyer, but they said their manager looked like a dirty hippie. And so the lawyer didn't take the manager nor the band seriously. Back in those days, we're talking like 1978 or 79. So he just said, yeah, go ahead and sign the contract, thinking that they wouldn't amount to anything anyway. So they ended up signing the contract and selling millions of records in England, and it was I believe they said it was a 7-album contract. And basically they were getting ripped off by their record company. The only ones that were getting rich off their album sales was the record company. It sure as hell wasn't them. So at the end of 10 years, and 10 years of writing and recording and touring, now they owe their record company £1 million. And their accountant at the time says, well, guys, you got two choices. You can either sell both your homes, and that should probably cover it, or we could put out a best of record and push it as hard as we can in Europe and in America, and we should be free and clear after that. So what the hell, they went and put out the best of record with a new song attached to it, which is called Dreaming, which they don't think very highly of. And basically this album was to pay the bills. I mean, these two guys didn't make any money off of it. It was just to get out of debt. That was the only reason, and they were 100% truthful about it. They said, we only released this to get out of debt. So we had no interest in putting out a best of, but it was either that or sell our homes. So next thing you know, Best of O&D comes out. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I saw that and I was like, oh, finally an honest answer from a musician. They're not gonna blow smoke up our asses. And so it was real cool insight on just what they were facing, because I think if you were an average person in the 80s and let's say you saw them American Bandstand singing If You Leave, and you would think, oh, these guys are millionaires, you know, they got money to burn, they drive expensive cars, live in mansions, date nothing but beautiful hot models. You know, they're living high on the hog, and maybe they did then, but it's, you know, I guess people are never as rich as you think they are. So that was the story behind O&D's Best Of album. I saw that online and really found it interesting and started listening to it afterwards, and just started laughing as I was listening to it. It's like, oh, so that's why they did this. And it's usually why a lot of artists put out a Best Of record, or they do the reunion tour. Someone's probably in trouble with the IRS, and it's their only way to get these big companies or the IRS off their backs. So anyway, I thought I would share that with you. But besides them using this album to get out of debt, I mean, they didn't make any money, they just paid the bills with it. It is a good collection of songs. Side 1 is actually fantastic. Not a bad song on Side 1. Side 2 is very entertaining. Well, it's more of the late 80s, mid to late 80s pop hits. But those were great songs as well. So if you happen to see this used for $3-4, you might want to pick it up. It's an enjoyable listen. This song's like one of my favorites on it. This is Enola Gay. It's such a great song. I really dig this band. I'm very, very, very late getting into them, especially their early records. And they got a new album out. I've been listening to the song Metro Land on YouTube. And sometime this weekend I should probably pick up the new album on CD. It'd be the first time I bought a CD in a while. So anyway, today's record of the week, The Best of OMD. Really cool stuff. Well, that's going to do it for me, folks. See you guys in the next video.